Hi everybody, welcome to the Overdrive Digital Show, a show where we bring you up to speed with the latest happenings in the auto world and you get to ask your motoring queries to our experts. In a few moments from now, Bert and Chris will join us on the show, but let's start off with the hottest launch from this week. Volkswagen India launched the facelifted version of the Tiguan earlier this week. Introductory prices start at 31.99 lakh rupees. Bert was at the launch floor to bring us all the details. Take a look.
Late last year, Volkswagen invited us to Goa for a special preview of their forthcoming SUV lineup, along with some hatchback refreshments and changes, at least limited edition model lines. But what was most important at that screening was the Tiguan, which has been launched earlier this year. Of course, alongside that, there was this one SUV standing in a corner, which was the all-new Tiguan. Back then, what we saw was a refreshed design, exteriors only, because the windows were blocked out. We couldn't see what was inside. Now, this is where the Tiguan has finally been showed to us. We can see the interiors, we can see the exteriors. We will be driving the car very, very soon. What you can see is a completely remodeled front end with that new chrome grille, the IQ headlamps. That's a matrix headlamp assembly. Of course, it uses 24 LEDs for better illumination. Even the components of the front bumper have changed. That entire structure looks different, looks new, looks pretty fresh, and of course, sporty as well. The profiles on the side, of course, haven't changed much, but you can see some profiling work on the hood as well. That is a little different from what you've seen in the past. Now, under this hood, what sits is a 2-litre petrol engine, direct injection petrol engine, and that has been mated to a 7-speed automatic DSG transmission. You've got about 190 PS of max power with 320 Newton meters of max torque. The previous or the last generation Tiguan did not have the petrol powertrain. It was only available in the Tiguan Allspace, which has been discontinued. Now, what we're seeing here, interestingly, is Volkswagen has chosen to put Hankooks on this. Now, these are 235/35 profile, 18-inch wheels and tires. That's a completely new alloy pattern. Looks quite nice, but with that 235/35 profile, what I assume you will get are better dynamics, and that's one of the things that Volkswagen is intending to project, that this is a more fun to drive car than it ever was in the past. Now, there will be a few suspension tweaks again because that engine and transmission setup has changed. It's lighter now under that hood. So, of course, there will be a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of remodeling of the suspension as well to accommodate that engine, that drop in weight, and to retain the ride quality and, of course, dynamics, but rather to enhance it for that matter. At the side, some of the character lines, of course, it still follows that very traditional Volkswagen stance and appearance. Looks pretty handsome, nice straight lines running across from the front fender all the way to the rear. In fact, wraps itself through the boot area where you can find these new tail lamps. You can clearly see the IQ light badging right there on that tail lamp. Of course, this has grown brighter. The signature looks very impressive now. Of course, a little more reprofiling of the rear bumper as well. And you've got the Volkswagen badge and the Tiguan badge sitting right there in the center. Now, since we're at the rear, I'll quickly show you what the boot looks like. Fairly large boot space out here. I would assume this is almost to the tune of about 400 liters of space over here. And you can fold down these seats. Again, these seats fold down in a 40-40-20 pattern, which means even the center section right here, well, that can also be folded down. So I'm here now on that rear bench, and as you can see, I've adjusted the front driver's seat to what I would be most comfortable in, and if I had to come back into the rear bench, now there's an enormous amount of knee room, an enormous amount. This is seriously class leading, and of course makes it a very comfortable place to be in. Just above my head, as you can see, there's plenty of headroom, and 3 passengers would be fairly comfortable given the shoulder room that this Tiguan has. Above my head, what you'd also notice is that it's got this panoramic sunroof that stretches from the front all the way to the rear. Better visibility. Now, we've also got an armrest in here. It's got its own cup holders. And as I was showing you earlier, you can fold this down. And of course, you've got space if you want to put something really long. If you're going on a skiing trip, well, that's where your skis would fit in. What you can also see in front of me here is an accessory. This is a coat hanger and it moves up and down, of course, but essentially it's just an accessory. I don't think this is, well, extremely safe to keep it over here in the case of an accident. This could be a fairly dangerous item to have at the back. I do like the rear bench. The look and feel is quite solid, looks robust, it looks premium. The seat quality is fantastic. The fabric, the leatherette that it uses is quite nice. I do like the texture as well. Pretty impressive over here. Let's get on to the front and see what that front seat feel is like and what the dashboard looks like, because it looks pretty inviting from right here. A lot has changed on this surface. It's not just the textures on the surface. You've got several textures over here. You've got this well ribbed kind of an effect on the top of the dashboard. You've got this smoother finish, and it's a soft touch dashboard. And you've got then these plastic elements again over here that emulate sort of a carbon fiber finish. It's not exactly carbon fiber, but it looks quite impressive. Now, right here, you've got these new aircon loops, and again, this is an entirely new design. You've got a larger touchscreen just below that. Fully LED, high definition screen, much better in terms of visibility is concerned. Quite impressive looking with a lot of features that are there, including connected technology. Now, lower down, you've also got the aircon, the climate control system for the front passengers. And again, this is a soft touch system, which means I just need to slide my finger over it rather than having to touch a button. I can just slide and it changes your settings for you. Another important feature is what you can see right here, which is the mode control, and that means I can engage it to drive in. It's got a snow driving profile if you look right there, and I can change it to a highway profile. I can change it to an off-road driving profile. It's an automatic profile. It will help you do what you want to do in off-road conditions. And then you've got the off-road expert driving profile. This will give you a little more leverage when it comes to the slightly more trickier situations where you don't really know what to do. The Tiguan will do that for you. I think this is very, very impressive. That something of this sort, an SUV of this sort, which will be fantastic on road, but also has that kind of well, character to go off-road. And then you've got the storage area right under the armrest there. 2 cup holders in addition, and that kind of completes what you've got in terms of features. Again, a cooled glove box. If you look at it here, you can set the temperature. You can either switch the vent off or you can switch it on, and you can keep your soft drinks or energy drinks in there. Now, what you've seen is a manual adjustment for the passenger side seat, and this is, I think, where Volkswagen is scrimping a little bit on the cost, because of course the driver side seat, you've got electronic adjustments for the backrest, for height adjust, and well, reach as well. But they could probably have put the same electronic adjustments on the passenger side as well, rather than keeping it to the manual adjustments. Well, cost of course would increase it by a marginal amount. Coming to the steering wheel and the console right in front of the driver, this is completely digital. I do like the steering wheel, also feels nice and grippy. There's enough weight in it, and it's got this flat bottom feel. Again, sporty intentions. Volkswagen trying to do this where they want consumers to feel that they're getting a lot more pleasure out of driving this vehicle, and I'm hoping that that is the case. Overall though, I do like this cabin. It looks like it's going to be a fun place to be in, some place that you would enjoy driving the Tiguan in. Now just to see how that engine transmission performs, because here what you can see is that automatic gear lever with the manual control. This is the 7-speed DSG box, and you've got the Tiptron functions right behind the steering wheel, the paddle. And all this starting off at about 31.9 lakhs is not too bad at all. I think Volkswagen has done a good job with this, and I'm hoping people begin to appreciate the Tiguan for what it is and for what it has to offer. So let's look forward to the driving experience now.
Well, Bert also caught up with Ashish Gupta, brand director of Volkswagen India, immediately after the launch. We have that chat on the Overdrive website. Do check it out, and basically to know how the semiconductor shortage is affecting the brand's future lineup of cars and about the brand's petrol-only approach. Let's get Bert on the show to answer your questions. Hi, Bert. You're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, Sohini. Hello, everyone out there. Thank you for joining us again this weekend. And well, hope the week was good for you as it was for me. Very hectic for me, otherwise, and for the guys as well. Christopher's been out
Hi,
riding a lot of
Chris.
stuff. Chris's screen is frozen again.
Yeah, Chris is frozen.
This
Chris,
is
Chris, no,
Hey
no, he's
guys.
not.
stop block motion.
Might be having some internet issues. Excuse me for that.
Well, as long as we can hear you, I guess it's fine. But
That
does
works.
the Tiguan have a branded music system? Does it have a subwoofer? Anirudh Reddy wants to know.
No, it does not have a branded music system, nor does it have the subwoofer effect. These are just regular speakers.
Okay, and in fact, we had a question here from YouTube board. Akash Rana wanted to know at 32 lakh rupees, it's on the higher side, saying that it's a CKD, and when compared to All Space, which was a CBU with the same equipment, it's only cheaper by a couple of lakhs. He says Volkswagen should have priced it lower or added more equipment for the price, like ADAS, wireless charging, ventilated seats. What do you think?
Well, Akash, good question. It's one of the questions that I, in fact, asked Ashish Gupta also, and in that conversation with him. But the trick here was, or rather, the challenge here for Volkswagen is just kind of keeping it within a price bracket that would make it affordable for a lot of people, accessible for a lot of people, without really going too far into the premium segments and then competing against the likes of branded cars like other German brands like Mercedes Benz or BMW or Audi. So it's a very fine line. So even with the Tiguan right now, what they've done is they're only offering a single variant. There aren't multiple variants. It is just one variant, and with that one variant, they tried to load it up as much as they could without having to go overboard on the sticker price, because even with whatever kit it's got, and there's a substantial amount of features on the car, it still comes up to about 32 lakhs. So it is a bit of a tight spot for them. It's a good SUV. It's one of very few SUVs that has got four-wheel drive also in the segment. Keep that in mind. So that itself becomes an expensive proposition. But well, I'm hoping they're able to do something good, or rather at least get a few numbers of the Tiguan out of the market at that kind of pricing. But yes, it is steep. I wouldn't deny that.
Okay, and we also had a basically just a statement from Lakshya saying very basic interiors at this cost.
Well, yes, they're kind of basic, but then that's always been the Volkswagen design philosophy, to keep it as simple and how would I say it? This non-gaudy or not over-the-top kind of styling and design. Said most of their cars, almost all their cars, have this very subtle elements. You really don't realize, just how good the quality of materials is until you actually sit inside the cabin and see this for yourself. There are also, keep in mind, some shared. It's a common bid between Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda. So you would see certain components that would possibly be shared across brands, for that matter. I mean, you might suddenly see something that is in the A4 that looks similar to what's in the Tiguan, that is probably similar to what is in the Kushaq also. So you don't know who and what picks up what part from which parts will. But yes, it is not. I wouldn't say it's not. It's not ostentatious. That interior. It is fairly simple. It is fairly Spartan. But for me, in my distinct case, for instance, from my perspective, it's something that I like. I like that slightly simpler effect rather than being too over the top. But yes, different strokes for different folks.
Okay. We can't answer the first part of Bhargava's question, board, because we've not driven the car. So, because he asked us whether this engine is punchy as compared to the TDI sold on the earlier car. But we can answer this bit. He wants to know, do Volkswagen cars still have issues regarding service? Because he says his Volkswagen Tiguan service was 33,000.
Well, I'm not sure right now, Bhargav, how this is going to pan out and what is Volkswagen's commitment to this. But yes, Volkswagen's ownership costs are high. I wouldn't say extremely high for that matter. They're trying to be as competitive as possible. but they are high nonetheless, and they certainly need to work on making them more affordable for that matter, because only then will they be able to reach out to the masses. Uh, they can't just work on the quality or the drivability of their products alone. They need to enhance the entire customer experience post purchase. Now, I'm assuming the petrol TSI, the 2 liter TSI, should be punchy because it's got reasonable amounts of power and 190 PS of power and 320 newtons of torque. So it's a reasonably powerful engine in that sense. Plus, you've got that four-wheel drivetrain also, so you will get a lot of traction off the line. But well, let's see. Simran has driven the car just a day ago, and we are still waiting for his report on that. But everything seems to be promising. I can't really comment much on this because there is a date when we can announce we get all of our data out and all of our content out, and we're just waiting for that content to come out. So you will have an answer to some of those questions of yours very shortly.
Yeah, in fact, his third question was about the extra features that this particular car has compared to the previous model.
I don't think they've got any extra features compared to the older model. They just have better features. They're all next generation features. It's that larger screen, of course. That infotainment screen has grown larger on the dashboard. It's a fully LED screen, from what I remember, compared to the previous generation. The multi-information display right behind the steering wheel, that is fully digital now compared to the previous generation vehicle. Small details, yes, exist that are completely new. But more than that, I think they've just kind of enhanced whatever was there in the previous generation car and offered that now in a completely new package with all the system software upgrades that are required.
But Mayur is asking, is the steering the same as the Tiguan with more buttons?
I don't remember offhand if this is the same steering as the Tiguan, but again, this is a two-spoke steering wheel, and that's something that Volkswagen and the Skoda group have been employing in some of their cars now. So there are certain similarities. Are there more buttons? I really don't know. I'll have to count them and see.
And he wanted to know how does it fare against the Kodiaq?
So here's a very interesting fact. I have not driven the Kodiaq, so I really don't know how it would fare against the Kodiaq, and that means Skoda needs to get me a Kodiaq, but I don't think they have got one in their fleet, so that is obviously not going to happen. And not because Skoda, did really well and outsold the Kodiaq, but they just did small numbers and sold the Kodiaq, so they don't have anything in their fleet. But at some point in time, they will get the Kodiaq back again into the market, and I will have an answer for you. Well, hopefully next year.
Chris, here's a motorcycle question for you. Aman wants to know, at what price can we expect the Triumph Tiger Sport 660? Will it be priced significantly higher than the Kawasaki versus 650? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So basically, yes, the Tiger 660, the Sport 660 is obviously going to be competitively priced because that's something that Triumph really focus on doing. That's one of the strong points of Triumph. In fact, they are always known to price their products very competitively and really take it up to the competition. And yes, it should be very competitively priced when it gets here. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Any ballpark figure that you can give, Aman? Have we lost Chris? Okay, Chris is on mute again, and Bert, you're on mute as well.
Hello.
Yep.
Hi. Oh yeah. So I guess, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh yeah. Hi. So yeah, to answer the question, it should be around the 10 to 11 lakh rupees in that bracket. So that should be fairly competitively priced with the versus. Kawasaki's are generally quite expensive, whatever options they come out with, but they are quality products at the end of the day, and they have a unique set of qualities that Kawasaki riders will really appreciate, like smooth engines, and they have a lot of features that really work for them. Unique in their own way, and I think the Tiger Sport 660 will undercut it by some fair margin when it gets here.
Okay. But Anirudh says there are cars that make you feel special when you step in, especially at this price bracket like the Octavia. Did the Tiguan make you go, wow, money well spent?
Anirudh, no, not really. The Tiguan doesn't make you go, wow, money well spent. But then I wouldn't say it's because you may go wow when you drive the car. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I'm not sure right now because I have not driven the car and experienced that as of yet. So possibly, but yes, the Octavia does certainly make you feel, special inside that cabin. It's a lovely cabin. The seats are fantastic. That upholstery feels rich. But that sort of richness is not exactly there in the Tiguan. Anirudh.
Bhargava is saying no rear-wheel drive in India.
Well, you don't really require rear-wheel drive, Bhargav. You've got an all-wheel drive platform in any case. But by default, not by default, but it's got. You won't get rear-wheel drive. You will get front-wheel drive, and when required, the rear wheels will also get driven for an all-wheel drive experience. But that's about it. No rear-wheel drive.
Okay. Chris, Yash wants to know Dominar 400 Touring versus the 2022 KTM 390 Adventure.
Hello, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yes, the Dominar Touring. Well, that's more like an accessory package. It's not really all that adventure focused, you could say, to go off road and stuff. So I would have to side with the KTM on this account, in this comparison, rather. So it has more capability in terms of suspension, ground clearance. Obviously, it's up on par, and I would have to side with the KTM in this particular instance. The Dominar it's got a couple of features. Yes, it's just add-ons basically that the company is selling with the regular Dominar 400. So it really doesn't alter the dynamics of it. Whereas KTM, yes, it just changes. It has changed everything, and it's totally suited to the more adventure-focused rider and stuff. So yes, I'll have to go with the KTM on this car.
Here's actually another motorcycle question. Is the Royal Enfield SG 650 launching anytime soon?
We will have to check on that. Actually, we have an update. I think Rohit has been in contact with Enfield on that, and we are going to be we're going to have something in store for you guys soon. So yes, do keep an eye out for that. But we will have to get back to you on that soon.
All right. But Harshit wants to know, does the Thar have a faulty fuel sensor issue? He's heard it is present in the Jeep Wrangler as well.
Well, Harshit, not exactly. I mean, if it's there in the Jeep Wrangler, it doesn't mean that it'd be there in the Thar. Even though the Thar quite strongly emulates what the Wrangler has to give. But no, there isn't an inherent faulty fuel sensor issue in the Thar. There may be the one-off case happening now and then. Even that would be really rare. But no, there isn't a fuel sensor issue as such in the Thar.
Chris, Bhargava has yet another question. What happened to rumors of KTM twin-cylinder 400cc motorcycle?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Well, we don't really have an answer for that. We just have to wait. We're like you were waiting for a real good update on the matter, because these companies, they don't give us a clear indication of when they're going to really come out with it. So we are pretty much like you. We have to wait and hope for the best, because as of now, there is no real indication if it's coming anytime soon. So we'll really have to wait and see.
All right. NB wants to know, what are the upcoming adventure bikes under 500cc? Chris, can you hear?
We lost his audio again.
He's on mute.
Oops.
Okay, we've lost Chris.
Him.
We'll get back to you shortly, NB. And we'll get back to you as well, Harshit. What I'll do right now is I'll just quickly run through the news from this week, and we'll get back to your questions. So feel free to use the comment section. Hyundai has announced it will launch 6 locally developed electric vehicles in India. The wide-ranging electrification plan will see Hyundai India EVs across the mass market as well as more premium models across body styles, including SUVs. The company has also confirmed it will bring its eGMP electric architecture to India, hinting at the introduction of its flagship Ioniq 5 electric car. It can be expected that Hyundai will cover most of the popular market segments. The Ioniq 5 crossover is expected to be offered in India with its larger 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack in both two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive variants. The two-wheel drive Ioniq 5 has a WLTP range of 481 kilometer with this larger battery pack, while the dual motor configuration offers a combined 305 PS and 605 Newton meters to allow for a 0 to 100 kmph time of 5.2 seconds and a 260 kmph top speed. The EV will also offer level 2 ADAS functions, connected car tech, and a long list of convenience features. Speaking of EVs, MG Motors India has announced its next offering for India will be an EV crossover that will be priced between 10 to 15 lakh rupees. It will be positioned below the MG ZS EV and it will rival the Tata Nexon EV. And this crossover should come with a 30 to 40 kilowatt hour battery pack and should be good for a 200 to 300 kilometer real world range. A single motor setup can be expected with segment matching power and torque figures. And we can expect to see significant fast charging capabilities as well. And finally, Audi India has introduced a new base variant of the A4 luxury sedan in the country at 39.99 lakh rupees. Compared to the higher premium plus variant, the A4 Premium loses out on 2 airbags, 3-zone climate control, multicolor ambient lighting. Other than this, everything else remains the same, including the 2-liter turbo petrol engine with a 7-speed DCT. Okay, we'll. I think Chris hasn't been able to join us yet to take you through the motorcycle news, sorry, we have a question here for you. When will we get the 2022 Karoq in India?
So TV, there has been a lot of conversation around Skoda and Volkswagen about what are the next line of products that are going to come in. But what we know immediately, I mean, the immediate plans are exist up till the sedans come in, which is the Slavia, and of course then the related Skoda, the Volkswagen sedan for that matter. It goes up to there. Now there has been an effort to get back some of their other products which they were offering in India, either as CKDs or CBUs, but like the Kodiak that will come in, the Karoq also will come in. But I expect all of this to happen within the next 12 months. So I think we should be hearing some news from Skoda as well by mid, I would say March, as to what the next product will be, whether it be the Kodiak coming back in or whether it be the Karoq coming back to the Indian market. But now that the Tiguan also is here, keep that in mind. The Karoq push should not be too far off. They should be able to get that down to India also pretty shortly.
Okay, but Harshit still has a question for you. Which is the best headlight modification for the Thar according to you?
Which is the best headlight modification? There's no headlight modification. You can't modify your headlamps, Harshit. What you could do is you can put in auxiliary ramps. These are additional headlamps that you can put in, and there are several brands out in the market. A lot of these accessory stores stock up on these, but you can even use motorcycle headlamps for that matter. A lot of touring motorcycles or even ADV motorcycles use them. They're smaller in size, but they're equally powerful. Keep that in mind. It'll all depend on what exactly is your requirement. If you're going to go off-roading, you're going to go camping somewhere, and you need that additional illumination, then it makes a lot of sense. But there are several LED bars that you can get out of the market from some good reputed manufacturers also. Denali's makes some fantastic headlamps, auxiliary lights, I'd say, not headlamps, auxiliary lights. And those are some of the best that you could get, though they're expensive. Let me say that they are pretty expensive.
But Electron Vlogs wants to know, how can we rely on global NCAP crash test ratings? How genuine is it?
Well, Electron Vlogs, it is genuine, and you can rely on those crash ratings. But the question here lies is that Global NCAP also is, how would I say it? It's an agency that is involved with a lot of safety for Asia and for Africa. But yes, there is a lot of focus on developing or rather emphasizing, pressurizing, I would say, Indian manufacturers to make safer cars simply because India is one of the most unsafe countries with the highest death rates anywhere in the world where road related accidents are concerned. And that is why they've been focusing so much on the Indian market. Now, Tata Motors and Mahindra, well, they have gone hammer and tongs with it, and of course, gotten all their cars tested, and are acquiring these 5-star ratings. 4 and 5 star, very high ratings for their vehicles as well. But that's not to say that the other manufacturers should be discounted. I think it's just that Global NCAP needs to work harder to getting those cars as well. Anything that's being sold in the Indian market, they need to get their hands on those cars and test them and give us more input on what those products are. But yeah, there is a little bit of politics, there is a little bit of genuinity in this. It may not bode well globally also. We do know for a fact that several cars that Global NCAP has tested haven't done extremely well. They have got their hands on certain cars from the Indian market that haven't really done well. And I just think they need to enforce this a little more stronger in that sense. They need to bring this out more into the public domain. Get a lot more cars at the test facilities, test them back to back, and put those results out for everyone to see. But yes, they are a reliable agency at the end of the day. Their tests are genuine.
But Pacific Sword wants to know what's the news on the hatchback versions of the Slavia and the Volkswagen sibling. He says Polo and its siblings desperately need an upgrade, especially as sedan pricing has really climbed.
Well, yes, there will be hatchback versions as well. Maybe similar to what the Slavia and the counter the Volkswagen sedan would be like. But there is no information immediately on when these hatchbacks will come out. Like I said, what we do know is that the plans extend up to the sedan coming out, which is going to be early next year, the Slavia or the Volkswagen sedan for that matter, which is early next year to mid next year. Both of these cars will come out into the Indian market. After that, there'll be a whole new process because there is a whole new range of CKD CBUs. Maybe an electric also somewhere in there. We're not entirely sure at this point in time. Ashish Gupta has indicated that given the right conditions, in the right infrastructure, they will get some of the EVs into the market as well. But what we do know is that there is the Kodiaq and the Karoq in the wings. The Tiguan is already over here. The T-Roc may make an appearance. Now, the challenge that essentially what Volkswagen Group is facing is that under the customs duty, the homologation regulations, and everything that affects manufacturers in some of the CBU categories. In the CBU category, effectively, they've got about 2,500 cars that they can import into the country. But in the case of Volkswagen, that applies to the entire group, which means 2,500 cars would include cars from Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Skoda, and Volkswagen. So you see, now they're in a fix because not everybody gets the amount of quota that they would want to get some of their CBUs into the market, which is why some of the cars they're not really focusing on. So this is something of a challenge that the group is trying to address, and they need to identify and see if there is a valid use case or whether there is a genuine requirement. If the numbers for, let's say, the T-Roc or for the Kodiaq are strong enough, then they would probably import those cars into the market. If not, they may not come back again for that matter, because then Audi might, the numbers for Audi would increase, and Audi would want to take those benefits because they're more premium cars. They've got a larger reach for that matter. Similarly, Porsche will have a requirement for some of their cars. Lamborghini is doing extremely well. The Urus is doing really, really well. Porsche has got the Taycan that's in the market, and then there are more versions of the Taycan coming out, and of course the other versions of the Macan and the other SUVs. So it's a very tricky situation for them, especially for a large group who cannot, each brand within that group cannot utilize 2,500, does not have the benefit of that 2,500 units. It's shared amongst all of those brands. So these are the challenges that they're facing. Now, that's part of that thing. But what we do know is that the SUVs are going to be first in line. And yes, by the end of the year, we will have certainly got some news on where the hatchbacks are headed and what's happening. Yes, the Polo has gotten old in its tooth. Skoda needs to come back with their hatchback as well. It is a big market. It's something that they cannot ignore. And there will certainly be products coming out in that segment.
Okay, but here's an interesting question, considering that Tata has been scoring well at the global NCAP tests. Sujashish wants to know, why has Tata not tested the Tata Harrier and the Safari platform yet?
Well, that is best known to Tata Motors and to global NCAP itself, Sujashish. I'm not sure why they haven't taken the Safari at the very least. Forget the Harrier now. but at least the Safari 2 Global NCAP and got that tested and put out those ratings. But I'm hoping that we will have something on them very, very shortly.
Okay, and here's Apur who wants to know, in how many years would you see a practical mass market electric car with 500 plus kilometer range under 10 lakh rupees?
Well, Pura, what we've already seen is MG making an announcement to bring a mass market car in the 10 to 15 lakh bracket. That just happened this week. In fact, that happened yesterday. And that is very interesting news. Now we've already got the Tigor EV also, which is in the 10 lakh rupee bracket. That's a sedan, electric sedan. Now, something with a 500 kilometer range and under that price is going to be a very, very tough ask, because keep in mind, under that price bracket, you're also looking at a car that is fairly small. And until battery density, technology goes to such a level that battery density increases probably, twofold, for you to get that kind of range, it's just not going to be viable any longer, because you just need too large a battery pack to put in a car. That's one. You're effectively asking a manufacturer to make something as large as the Creta or the Hector, for instance, available at a price below 10 lakh rupees, which means base price would be about 8 to 9 lakh rupees, which just isn't feasible in this market any longer. So you're asking for something that's a little too impossible.
Okay, I see Chris has joined us again. Let's just try to get Chris back into the conversation. Chris, the question from NB, what are the upcoming adventure bikes under 500cc?
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Finally. Yeah, so adventure bikes under 500cc, but there aren't a lot at the moment. It's just that we can expect Yazdi's coming out with the Road King. Looking forward to, and also KTM is supposed to come out with the 490 Adventure sometime in the first quarter of the year. So we are looking forward to that, and then followed by the 490 Adventure, which should come a couple of months later. So we are looking forward to that at the moment. And there are a lot of street bikes and other motorcycles coming, but not a lot of adventure bikes at the moment. So we just have these two to look forward to currently.
Okay, and any idea about the TVS Zeppelin launch?
Oh, that's like a living legend. So I believe we could expect it to come around March 22. So we've been waiting for this to happen for quite a while, and I think it should happen around March, if I'm not mistaken. So keep your fingers crossed for that to happen on time. Yep.
All right, and one last question. Rajesh Khare wants to know, can you recommend any engine oil additives for better performance? He's asking for his KTM ADV 390.
Oh, well, the Adventure 390, I'm not too sure, but I think you'll need something. Obviously, it has to be synthetic oil. And I think you could go with the Motul. I think Motul has a decent, I think it's called the 3040 plus, if I'm not mistaken. You could check that out. Once again, I'm not very too confident on this, but you could check out this Motul version. It should be good for performance, at least of the regular 390. It seemed to work fine, so you should look into that.
Is it the 300 V2?
Sorry?
Is it the 300 V2?
The 300, I think it's the V2. Yes, it should be the V2.
Okay, Chris, if you could just take us through the motorcycle news from this week, then we'll get back to the questions.
Motorcycle news? I'm sorry, I'm having some issues with my internet, clearly. So, motorcycle news. All right. So, a couple of things. Where do we begin? With the Triumph, the new Tiger 1200. Shall we begin with that? So, yes. Now, we've seen a couple of adventure bikes receive the big players in the adventure segment come out with new and exciting updates for their models, and now Triumph have finally come out with the new Tiger models. This is an all-new bike, and there are two flavors to be had of this particular Tiger 1200. Now, there is the GT and the Rally. Now, the GT comes with three versions. There is the standard GT, the GT Pro, and the GT Explorer, while the Rally comes with the Pro and the Rally Explorer models. Now, all these are powered by the same 1160cc three-cylinder liquid-cooled engine, and this is an all-new engine. It's It's a new T-plane triple crank engine which Triumph has produced, and the company claimed that this motor gives you the throttle characteristic and sound of a V-twin at the low end of the power band, while at the mid-range and top end you could just expect all that engaging power delivery as you would expect from a triple cylinder. Now it has compact with features as you would expect: electronic aids, cornering ABS, traction control, shift assist, hill hold, blind spot radar, which is which only comes with the Explorer models. Now, the pricing, well, Triumph has always been known to price their models really competitively, and we expect it to be priced in the 18 to 25 lakh region. Now, as I mentioned before, this is an all-new motorcycle, and Triumph have really kept the R1200, the 1250 GS as a benchmark, and they have worked on the strengths as well as the weaknesses of this motorcycle. So that's something that's really interesting, and we're waiting to get our hands on it to really check out what this Triumph has in store, because there's a lot of design, a lot of mechanical bits that have been altered. It has a new twin radiator setup, and that as a whole also makes the bike look a lot more narrower than it was before. It's a lot lighter than it was before as well. And power, yes, the power is up. It's around 9 PS and 9 and 8 Nm more than the previous model, and also around 14 PS more of its closest competitor in the form of the R1250 GS. So this all makes for a very compelling package, and we are waiting to get to check out the bike as soon as it gets here. Now, we expect the motorcycle to arrive in India in the first quarter of 2022. As I mentioned, the pricing, well, Triumphs are always known to like price their bikes really competitively, and 18 to 25 lakh is the ballpark figure where we are expecting this new range of Tigers to be priced at. Yep. Now moving on to the Harley-Davidson Sportster S. That's another exciting prospect for us. Now, the company have launched this new Sportster at the attractive price of 15.51 lakh ex-showroom Delhi. And yes, well, the bike has been on sale in Europe for some time now. It's been online. It's been available since June, in fact. And yes, it's a very attractive package. It comes with the same motor as the Pan America 1250, albeit it's tuned to produce a lot less power. I think the Pan America produces around 152 PS. This one produces just around 122, and the same amount of torque at 127 Nm. Now, the mid-range and top end is supposed to be it's supposed to provide a lot better torque at the mid-range, between 3000 to 6000 RPM. And yes, well, it looks really exciting. And also it comes with 3 color options, which is black, crimson, and stone white. Now, this, once again, it looks like a very exciting motorcycle. If you're a Davidson fan, you must have been looking forward to this one. And it's supposed to be a really good sport touring custom motorcycle. So we're really looking forward to this one, and we expect it to come to India around December, the end of December 2021. The deliveries are expected to start in this month itself. So we are waiting to test that out once we actually get our hands on a media vehicle. So hopefully that'll happen sometime soon. Harley-Davidson, hope you're hearing. So that's pretty much it for the motorcycle news this time around.
Chris, how excited are you about the Ducati Desert X? When can we expect it here in India?
Oh man, that's something. I don't know, just the look of it, and yeah, it's okay. The engine is a bit old. It's the same, not old. It's the same engine that powers a couple of other motorcycles in the lineup currently, the Monster, Hypotard, and everything. But as a whole, it comes together. It looks to be really attractive. I really like the look of it, and it has the hardware to really back it up going off-road. So that seems like a very enticing proposition. And of course, now the pricing, that is going to be like quite a bit of thinking that Harley-Davidson have to do when it comes to this particular motorcycle. We think that it's going to be around the 18 lakh area, but seems like a very interesting proposition altogether. Yeah. I love the look of it as well. It has this old school Dakar bike feel to it, a lot narrower and looks very purposeful and looks like fun ride.
All right. Manish Pandey, hi, how are you? But this is an interesting question. Why don't we have riding schools for superbikes in India? As it's very risky for a newcomer to ride these monsters. Wouldn't it be a good business idea? Then mute bot.
Oh, I think Bert was going to answer this.
Yeah, Manish, we do have riding schools for people in India, and these involve riding schools not just for, not I would say the lesser powered motorcycles, but also for superbikes in India. These are general schools in that way. There's California Superbike School that used to happen in the past, but does not happen any longer simply because, again, because of the pandemic and lockdown restrictions and various other challenges. But there are other schools that happen in the country, and we ourselves, we're going to be partnering very soon with one of these riding schools again. But keep an eye out. We will have thing. ISBK is one of those academies, racing academies that does several riding programs where they teach you how to ride on a track and how to use motorcycles. And this is not, this is across segments, so you can get any motorcycle that you have, whether it's a small motorcycle or even a large capacity motorcycle, to these academies, to these training schools, and learn how to ride these bikes better. But yeah, the fact remains that all these happen at racetracks, so that it's a safer environment to learn, how to ride a superbike on. And effectively, then you can use those same lessons to ride those motorcycles in everyday conditions on the road as well. I mean, I have attended the California Superbike School, and it has significantly improved my riding style on the roads. And then I went and bought myself an adventure motorcycle. And I had to change everything about how I rode motorcycles for that matter, because it's a completely different motorcycle. But superbikes, and they're like, of course, there are riding schools where you can learn how to ride these bikes better, get more confident on these motorcycles.
But Tata Punch is known as India's safest car. How can they say that about a car which costs approximately 5 to 10 lakh rupees? There are cars which cost crores and crores like the S Class. Aren't they safe?
Well, absolutely. Who says the S Class isn't safe? The S Class is extremely safe. Some of the highest safety ratings as well, and it may not necessarily be on the global NCAP test ratings, but you'll have to check Euro NCAP for that matter, or various other NCAPs that exist around the world where these cars are tested. But yes, it's not difficult to make something like the Tata Punch one of the safest cars in the world, also for that matter. It's not a very difficult proposition. It just requires some smart engineering and offering all those active and passive safety features that will keep its occupants, safe in whenever an incident takes place. It's not difficult at all to make a 5 to 10 lakh rupee car as safe as a Tata Punch is. It's not the cost for that matter. It's just the willingness to be there and to do that that matters. So yes, it's up to other manufacturers to rise up to the occasion as well and say that they are, or rather at least get their cars tested and say that it's just as safe. But this is more of a business decision, and every manufacturer leads in a different way.
Okay, but are Hyundai also planning to bring hydrogen and hybrid cars along with their electric, or will they be CBUs or CKDs?
Well, Bhargav, there will be CBUs and CBUs largely for that matter. Hydrogen is something that the entire country, all the manufacturers of the country are going to be working on very, very shortly. That goes without saying, simply because the government also is pushing hydrogen for that matter. There are already test centers and vehicles being tested around the country. I've already said this in the past. Hyundai is one of them, and Hyundai has been running certain camps and clinics across the country for hydrogen. They've also been trying to test and evaluate some of their cars where hydrogen is concerned. Keep in mind, there's already a pilot program running in Himachal Pradesh. I think it's somewhere near Manali, if I'm not mistaken, where they are running hydrogen buses. And they're evaluating what are the fees, what's the fees. They're doing feasibility studies for that matter on hydrogen vehicles already. So yes, they will be coming into the country. Hydrogen cars, for that matter, they will be coming into the country. There are a lot of manufacturers who are already working on hydrogen: Toyota, Hyundai, and several others for that matter. Hybrids, however, yes, we should have gone the hybrid route, to be honest, before having stepped into the electric space. But unfortunately, we've leapfrogged that phase entirely and moved towards electric. So I'm not sure how many manufacturers will actually come around with hybrids any longer. That may not really happen anymore. We may just, the focus will purely be on electrics for the future.
Okay, Akash Rana wants to know how effective do you think ADAS is in our road conditions as far as most part these have been tuned outside India, and won't they feel rather a hindrance in our conditions?
Akash, I've answered this question before, several weeks ago for that matter. But yes, ADAS is certainly beneficial to most of us in our conditions, especially if you're driving on the highways. But yes, in urban conditions, it could be a bit of an hindrance. I know for a fact that even in some of the Mercedes-Benz cars where they've got the automatic braking systems, I switch it off entirely because it can be quite intrusive, especially given conditions where we've got too many people tailgating us too closely. I've almost had a few people running into the back of the Benz cars that I've been driving because the brakes just suddenly come on when they detect that the distance to the car ahead is too close and the speed too high for it to be for the owner, for the driver to brake effectively. The system comes on by itself. So yes, ADAS can be a hindrance in urban conditions, but I do think that it would be a slightly. But there are certain features within ADAS that would certainly be beneficial, especially if you're driving out on the highways. In urban conditions, yes, there are hindrances. It could be a challenge, but I think in time, if Gadkari has his way and is able to put into place a proper licensing system, which enforces rather, which encourages people to learn to drive properly and to know the regulations properly, then ADAS will become will be a game changer.
But Roshan wants to know the new A-class limousine or the C-class.
Wow, tough question, Roshan. They're both great cars, fantastic cars. The A-Class limousine effectively is something that I wasn't expecting to turn out as well as it has. It's got an enormous amount of space inside the cabin. It's a great car to drive, fantastic engine lineup as well. The handling and the ride quality also is brilliant on that car. But yes, the C-Class does have that proper Mercedes-Benz appeal to it. The A-Class still feels like a large premium car, but it doesn't entirely have that Mercedes-Benz quality to it. It's very, very close, keep in mind, but the C-Class would certainly be the definitive Mercedes-Benz that you could buy at similar prices as the A-Class for that matter.
All right. But Apur wants to know, do you think Tata has access to high-strength steel at lower cost because of Tata Steel that enables them to produce safe yet cheap cars like the Punch?
Apurva, it doesn't really matter. It's not just the high strength steel for that matter. It's also, like I said, it's both the active and passive features that a car has. Would they have a cost advantage? They may have a cost advantage. There may be something or the other that is there, which allows them to utilize high strength steels or other, purchase high strength steels at lower costs from Tata Steel. I'm not exactly aware of what the economics are over here and what does Tata Steel make for that matter. Does Tata Steel actually make high strength steels? Or does Tata Motors have to purchase it from outside? I'm not entirely sure about that. But the fact remains that with these active and passive safety features, Tata Motors is providing them in their cars, something that not a lot of other manufacturers are doing. Economies of scale work for sure because we are projecting a few thousand, several thousand cars for them. For that matter, you can effectively get some of these safety features at cheaper costs for that. So it does work out. It's only left to be seen for Maruti and Hyundai, for instance, to actually go down this route and say, let's make our small, affordable cars even safer. And they can certainly lead from the front because they definitely have the kind of volumes, and they should be doing this rather than Tata Motors. They should be doing this more aggressively than Tata Motors. But they aren't, which is a bit disappointing. But I'm hoping that in the future, I mean, we've seen the Celerio already. The Celerio has already come in with several safety features on board. And while Maruti isn't tom-tomming much about it, they definitely have injected a lot of safety features into that car. But let's see what the road map is for the future in some of the other vehicles as well.
But Aman wants to know what is the matter with BMW's run flat tires. He wants BMW X5, but he's heard some terrible things about the run flat tires. Are they really that bad?
Well, they aren't bad, Aman. Keep in mind, run flat tires are actually very beneficial because in a situation where you have a flat, they will still be able to run without any pressure in them and get you to about 50 kilometers or 80 kilometers. I believe that's the range that you can use a run flat tire, and is absolutely flat and get to get to civilization or get somewhere where you can get help. The flip side and the bad part, of course, is that when you have a puncture on a run flat tire and you run that tire absolutely flat, you have to replace the tire. Now, run flats aren't cheap; they're pretty expensive for that matter, and that is effectively what is causing a lot of concern amongst owners. So I know of several owners who've gone in and changed run flats to regular tires, taken off the run flats and used regular tires, because you don't even get a proper spare in these cars. And in this condition, you cannot repair a run flat tire either. So you want a regular tire that can be repaired at a puncture shop. So those are some of the pros and cons of the run flat tires, but the cons outweigh the pros in our conditions in our country, and that's essentially why a lot of owners don't like the run flat tires and effectively go in for regular tubeless tires.
Right. And Roshan Ram wants to know, what is the best fuel efficient, safe automatic car under 9 lakh rupees, considering fuel efficiency is is it a good idea to put in more and get a Tigor EV or the Nexon EV instead?
Well, you could get the Nexon EV because it has got fairly decent range also. It's got decent range, it's not got great range, but fuel efficiency, if you had to see, I mean, Celerio for that matter, you're getting about 23-24 kilometers per liter in that hatchback, and even real world conditions, I would assume you would get at least about 19 to 20 kilometers per liter, which makes it one of the most fuel efficient cars you can buy in the country under that 9 lakh rupee bracket. Most fuel efficient across any segments for that matter. And in that sense, yes, it would over a period of time make a lot more sense than bringing the Nexon EV, which on a full charge will still give you about 200 kilometers, just about 200 kilometers to 20 kilometers of range, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. The Celerio will easily give you 400, 450 plus on a full tank. So the math, yes, doesn't really match up. The Celerio would certainly be a bit better in that sense compared to the Nexon EV or the Tigor EV. The Tigor EV, I'm not even going down there because the range is even lower than the Nexon EV.
All right, we'll take one last question. But Ankit wants to know, he's planning to buy a Mercedes G63 AMG. He's a travel fanatic. He goes out on long and off-road rides very frequently, but doubt on use of fuel, as super fuel is suggested by Mercedes India. We do not get high octane fuel very easily. Should he opt for spending 3 crore rupees on the G63?
Ankit, well, let me put it this way: the G63 was never meant to go off-road. You could take it off-road, but it's more of this Middle Eastern highway cruising super SUV. Phenomenal for that. Brilliant dynamics. Looks great. Sounds even more fantastic. And that power coming out of it's weird. It's just magnificent. So brilliant car in that sense. But off-road, I really wouldn't recommend that because by default the car comes with these AMG spec tires, which are very low profile tires, and they're not great in off-road conditions. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. You would probably be happier just buying the G wagon. Going for the 350D, that would be a lot more effective especially if you like going off road, because you can also change the tires on that. You anyways have decent tires. Don't go for the AMG tires. You have a decent tap profile and that, which will allow you to go do reasonably well, in off road conditions. Go in for an 80 pattern tire or a mud tire, and the ability of that G wagon to go places is just immense. On the other hand, you also got the Defender as a choice. The 3-door Defender also is going to be there in the country, and that is going to be something equally tempting. Maybe not the 5-door because that's a fairly large car, and taking that off-road will require a certain amount of skill also. Though it is highly capable for that matter. But the 3-door will become a little more nimbler because it's got again the smaller, shorter wheelbase, more agile in off-road conditions. Which again is the same advantage that the G-Wagon also offers, even though the wheelbase is more or less similar to what the 5-door Defender is. They're very, very close that way. Again, if off-road driving is something that you're looking at, and you'd like to do it a lot, you'd like to travel and go overlanding for that matter, maybe none of these cars are really the answer for that matter. I have seen some Defenders being used in Ladakh, and there was a group that when we went driving up the e-tron to Leh, we passed a group that was coming down, and they had a couple of Defenders in that thing, and they really did bash them in. And do you really want to do that to your car? If you're the kind who really doesn't matter about, doesn't really care about that, and wants to use the car for what they were built for, then absolutely more powerful to you. Go for it, I would say. But by the G350D or by the Defender, those choices are far superior, not the G63 AMG. The G63 AMG will certainly make you look good, feel good in urban areas, out on the highways also. But when you come to those off-road sections, things will get very, very tricky.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for your questions. Apurv, I think we've answered this question plenty of times, and I don't want to jinx this weekend as well. I know it's FP2 is already underway, and we really don't want to discuss who's going to win the championship. We'll get to know on Sunday anyway. It's a
Max
disappointing
Verstappen.
FP2 already. It doesn't look like it, but right now.
I know it isn't.
But
Yeah, let's
guys,
see.
just before we wrap up, we'll quickly take a look at what's on the show this week. You can tune into CNBC TV 18 at 1 p.m. We'll bring you a detailed test drive of the Audi e-tron GT. We'll also get you a closer look at the newly launched Volkswagen Tiguan. And what's new in the updated Triumph Tigor 1200 motorcycles. You can catch the repeat telecast on Sunday at 12:30 and 8 p.m. as well. We'll see you next week then. Thanks so much for tuning in.
guys.
Actually, no, we will not be seeing everybody next
Sorry, we
week.
won't be seeing you next week. We've got a fantastic story coming up. Actually, we're working on a story because we will shortly be coming up with our 700th episode on CNBC TV 18, guys. 700 episodes. That's how long we've been around for. And it's going to be another epic story. We're heading out somewhere. It's going to be a long week ahead. We'll be out for several days, but do watch out for something that's really interesting that's going to happen.
Well, our social media posts, you should keep
by our social media
an
posts,
eye
you will
out on
certainly
that.
know. Yes.
Yeah.
You'll know it by our social media posts. You'll see what's happening, where we are, and what we are up to.
All right. So we'll catch you when we do in a week or in maybe
2 weeks.
2 weeks or so.
2 weeks. 24th of December, I think, is the next one we will see you, which is is the 24th the Friday? Yes,
It's
that's
a Friday.
Yeah. Friday, so that's when we will see you because Christmas Day is our 700th episode. Guys. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining in. See you, Bert. See you, Chris.
See you, Chris. See you, Sony. Bye-bye. And bye, everybody out there. Have a nice weekend.